Let me tell you a little story I hold close to my heart. There was once a small child named Eli. He lived in a quiet little village, where birds sang in the trees and the wind whispered through the fields. But even in all that beauty, Eli often felt alone. He had questions no one could answer and feelings he couldn't explain. One day, as he walked a dusty path near the edge of the village, he saw a man sitting by a tree. His face was calm, his eyes kind, and his smile was full of light. The man looked at Eli and said, "Come, sit with me." Eli sat down, and just like that, it felt like the whole world slowed down. The man began to speak softly. He said, "You are never alone, little one. Even when no one is near, I am with you." Eli looked up and asked, "Who are you?" The man smiled and said, "I am Jesus. A friend to hearts that wonder. A light in times of darkness." They talked for a long time. Not just with words, but with silence. With smiles. With understanding. Jesus told Eli stories of love, kindness, forgiveness. He didn't speak with big words. He just spoke with truth. With peace. Before leaving, Jesus stood, placed his hand on Eli's head, and said, "Let love lead your life, and you will never feel lost again." And just like that, he was gone. But something had changed in Eli. He felt braver, happier. He knew he had a friend, one who would always walk beside him, even when unseen. From that day on, Eli lived with a glowing heart. He shared kindness, helped others, and smiled more than ever. Because now, he knew, Jesus was with him, always. Let me tell you a story I hold close to my heart. In a quiet village surrounded by hills and fields, there lived a small child named Eli. He had curious eyes, a gentle heart, and a smile that could brighten any room. But even with all his joy, Eli sometimes felt something was missing. You see, Eli would often walk the village paths alone. He watched the birds fly, listened to the trees whisper, and sometimes he'd talk to the sky. He would say, "I don't know why, but I wish someone truly understood me." One morning, the sky was golden and the air peaceful. As Eli walked a quiet trail, he saw a man sitting under a tree. The man's robe was simple. His hair gently flowed in the breeze. And his eyes, those eyes held a kindness Eli had never seen before. The man looked at Eli and smiled. "Come, sit with me," he said. Eli wasn't afraid. Somehow, he felt safe. So, he walked over and sat beside the man. They didn't speak for a while. The silence was soft, gentle. Then, the man said, "You're wondering why your heart feels heavy sometimes, aren't you?" Eli looked up, surprised. "How do you know?" The man smiled again and said, "Because I know your heart. I know every thought and every feeling you've ever had." Eli stared at him in amazement. "Who are you?" "I am Jesus," the man said softly. "A friend to all who feel alone. A light when things feel dark. And I came here today, for you." Eli's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of something else. Something deep, something peaceful. Jesus looked out toward the horizon. Sometimes the world can feel big, and we can feel small. But never forget, every little heart matters. Yours does too. Eli asked, "Even when I feel invisible?" Jesus nodded, especially then. They sat there for a long time. Talking, laughing, thinking. Eli shared his worries, his dreams, and even the silly things he didn't tell anyone. And Jesus listened, really listened. As the sun began to move across the sky, the village bell rang in the distance. Eli knew he had to head home. But something inside him had already changed. He felt lighter, not because all his problems disappeared, but because he knew he wasn't facing them alone anymore. Jesus nodded, especially then. They sat there for a long time. Talking, laughing, thinking. Eli shared his worries, his dreams, and even the silly things he didn't tell anyone. And Jesus listened, really listened. As the sun began to move across the sky, the village bell rang in the distance. Eli knew he had to head home. But something inside him had already changed. He felt lighter, not because all his problems disappeared, but because he knew he wasn't facing them alone anymore. And just before Eli stood up, Jesus looked into his eyes and said, "Remember this, Eli. I am always with you." Even when you can't see me, I'm right beside you. And with that, the story continues. Oh, hear how Eli's heart was forever changed. Watch part 2. Speech balloon. Like, share and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.